There appears to be some idea about the immense polarization of what they call the left and the right wing, um, having an esoteric component, um, and the religious and esoteric component, ideas of that are got to be discussed. Okay, just the ideas that some beings had, and they go like a bit like this. Okay, so with hyper religiosity, as well as bigotry, um, some religions aren't necessarily bigoted, but they tend to have bigotry in them. Okay, and there's not to say that atheists can't be bigoted. The New Atheist movement, for example, is extremely bigoted and appears to be some kind of shill operation for the military industrial complex. However, atheism in the proper sense of the term need not be that way. In a similar way that each and every religion isn't necessarily bigoted. Like, so if you have a religion, right, it doesn't necessarily follow that you got to be a bigoted arsehole that wants to bash gays or something like that. Okay, you might be, but you might not. Might also not. Homophobia is something that atheists can have as well. The cause of the fear is going to vary from situation to situation. So, using homophobia as a sort of starting point to discuss where this might lead, and sort of mirrors or parallels between the esoteric, religious, and the political. So, in Anglophone societies and possibly others as well. So, Anglophone mostly. And so, that is to say, if they're not from an English-speaking society, we don't actually know what their cultural constructs are. This may even prove, as an argument through logic, that the political mapping system and the religious mapping system that they use is almost exclusively Western cultural myopia, and says absolutely nothing about other cultures and societies more generally, including their religions. We don't actually know what their maps are. So, standard map of the sort of, authoritarian left, authoritarian right, libertarian left, libertarian right, the one. Oh, look, there's a nice little centre in the middle. Okay, so that sounds like it might be a bit of shield propaganda because the centre line keeps changing. And so does this. The centre line keeps changing. The horizontal centre line's gone up, has it? The centre line's gone to the right. Now a centrist, the dead centrist is now like basically basically the ALP right, or the Liberal Party. Okay, it's crap. Okay, or maybe it's gone the other way. Okay, and now to be right wing is to be the Greens Party. Okay, you notice how we can't tell the difference anymore. Okay, we've been gaslit too much. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the esoteric areas that might be involved. Okay, when it comes to certain types of illusory correlations that happen. So, chakras. Okay, as far as is known, the original Sanskrit word chakra means wheel or vortice. So it's basically an energy vortice, and supposedly when you have a spiritual awakening, or actually when you have spiritual awakening, the way they say they've confused chakras with seals to start off with, which is in some of the cults, which is a big problem. It's a big no-no. Okay, there's a reason why seals and wheels are not the same. Okay, and a seal might cover a wheel. You never know. Or be independent of it entirely. They're operating in two different systems. Particularly talking about seals when it comes to Christianity. Seals, when it comes to Christianity does not do chakras, and usually would argue that chakras are demonic, and to avoid religions that are associated with chakras. Okay, we're not even joking. Okay, so the entire idea of chakras being demonized by Christianity, or some sects within, like schisms within Christianity, would imply very strongly that there is no relationship between the seals referred to in the Book of Revelations being a parallel for the chakras, and yet there are cults that have paralleled exactly that, and they confuse a seventh seal bust with a seventh chakra opening, which is not the case. Sometimes that person is well beyond the 12th chakra. They might actually have all of the chakras open, and the seventh seal bust is an entirely different phenomena, referring to the egregores associated with the Christian cult in terms of the codes and programs that come from the Bible. So when it comes to chakras being misassociated with Christianity, it's a bit like the Asuras and the Devas not being exactly the same thing as the angels and demons of Christianity, and yet Madame Blavatsky claims to have spoken to a set of masters of Mount Shasta in India, and they thought that they were the same thing. Okay, they're probably not. Okay, what the Hindus seem to be referring to when it comes to Asuras and Devas refers to different behavioural styles and life focuses for beings, and doesn't necessarily shame or as the common English term would unsurprisingly use, demonize certain types of behaviour. Just sort of refers to it as different. The illusory correlation between the social classes and the law of Manu, okay, which is known as a Hindu caste system, and the Asuras and Devas. So the assumption might then be in the illusory correlation of that. So classism is something that's important, and caste system is important in politics as well. So let's talk about that one for a second. The idea of you've got the upper class and the lower class, to use the English terms, or the Brahmins versus the Dalits, basically, to use another way. In actuality, there is no awareness of whether or not the Brahmins are considered upper class compared to the Dalits. It's just more the case that everyone is considered upper class compared to the Dalits. The Brahmins are a priestly class. There are, in fact, other castes within the Hindu system that are of higher rank than Dalits, and basically they've got a dog's body system where they've decided entire family groups for the last 4,000 years would be picked on by everyone else. And they're called the Dalits. So it may not have actually been. You probably find that it isn't necessarily the case that the Rajas and whatever of the old systems were all Brahmin class. That's not necessarily true. It's probably you'll probably find is during the people that are most likely to be gurus. Okay, the famous Hindu guru type character. Okay, that trope. Okay, well, what's a guru? It's a word versus someone with some sort of level of spiritual training. Okay, so they're a fully initiated adept at what they do, considered a leader on spiritual matters. That's what the word refers to, in their particular culture or custom, and so if they are Hindu or from India, they might, depending on their actual background, come from the Brahmin class. Okay, so that would be that's why they'd be Brahmins. Their particular Brahmin family might not necessarily have been a wealthy elitist group that was running the political system. On the other hand, there is an association between if the culture values spiritual leadership as spiritual leadership and political leadership ought to be associated. In other words, they've got a capacity for theocracy, or their society's equivalent. Then it may also be the case that you'll find someone from the Brahmin class will take the reins of political leadership. And so we're in a very confusing situation with Modi. The Indians are in a very confusing situation with Modi because he's been doing God complex level stuff in terms of been acting a little bit like Donald Trump, saying he was the chosen one, and it's raising some very strange questions about humanity's capacity for misinterpreting hierarchies and the cultural overlays of false correlations between each society. In the case of the Anglophone societies, they derive the ideas derived in Anglophone societies largely have their origin in the Vatican cult, not exclusively but largely, and and of course the Masonic and Theosophic schisms historically are connected up to that, but through other ideas. So they're like syncretism. Okay, the main line is that Vatican cult. Okay, with a few branches coming off, and then Protestant Reformation, and then a bunch of other stuff going blah 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 blah, and then out came a confusing mess called Masonry and Theosophy. Okay, now in that confusing mess, there's a very strong tendency for hierarchy amongst European societies. Typically, someone who's got a lot of money or is classified as a political leader, someone who's got a lot of money might also be classified as a political leader because he can buy the votes, to use that expression, or influence the political leaders. A religious leader might also have lots of money from the collection plates. It's really they try with their sense of hierarchy. They sort of almost try and sort of like they think the right pattern is for all things that are classified as the top need to be lined up together. So a person with financial wealth also has to have political leadership and also has to have spiritual leadership, and unfortunately that's not the case. Unfortunately, for them that's not the case. Spiritual leadership is not based on your class. Spiritual leadership is based on your wisdom, and so. If you actually look at some of the expressions in India that come from that, you call it the Sadi people. Sadguru might actually refer to mean wise guru in Hindi, or might mean guru who came from the wanderers. Okay, because there is a story from India of people who are of no worldly possessions. Some of them even walk around butt fucking naked, and they are considered spiritual leaders and gurus in their own right, and they just walk around and live off donations whilst butt naked. Okay, in some cases they do, others wear clothes. Okay, but some of them apparently are butt naked. They've completely let go of worldly possessions. And they're just spouting the spiritual wisdom to people. Okay. The guy Sadhguru, he hasn't let go of worldly possessions. He's definitely a public figure, and he's quite well dressed. So he's a man of high class, and even if he's not, he certainly gives the appearance of one, and through his activities became a man of high class. So that said, though, the wise ones aren't necessarily from the upper classes. Okay. They don't necessarily have lots of money. They're not necessarily someone you'd vote for in an election. They're not necessarily someone who's working for the government, and so on and so forth. And that kind of stuff was like that kind of idea sort of like really confuses the feudal mindset that was imprinted throughout the Industrial Revolution and how it is today as well. That feudal mindset hasn't left. It got rebranded and rebranded and capitulated to the petit bourgeois dreams of being a movie star, type of thing. And so when that happened, it sort of showed it sort of showed that there was something amiss. And one of the things is those New Ages, right? Seems to be the New Ages for some reason. They've gone in with those illusory correlations things that happen. They've said root chakra is red, and then and they've got, oh look, it goes up like a rainbow, and then it's purple at the top. See, when you reach purple, it's better, because like purple's way better. Okay, purple's higher hierarchy, so it's better. It's like, sorry, but actually in the sciences, each wavelength of light goes at the same speed. But anyway, not sure why purple's faster and better and cooler, but okay, No, you reach your bum. You reach your bum. We can deal with collective root as well. Okay, there is such a thing as collective root. Okay, go on. What's that? Okay, okay, is that red, is it? Collective root is red, is it? Okay, and that's lower rank, is it? Okay, why is it lower rank? Okay, why isn't your ass your head? Because your third eye is your butt in Australian English. Like when you're speaking Australian English, your third eye is your butt. Okay, so your cultures are confusing to Australians. Your hierarchies don't make any sense. Australian English doesn't understand you, both culturally as well as language. It's not just taking words literally or something like that, or some fucking Darvo and autistic people. It's the actual culture doesn't understand you. Okay, it's complex why that might be the case, except to say it's something about the Americans and the crap that they got from the British. Okay, Aleister Crowley type stuff. That seems to have something to do with the hierarchy of the chakras being associated with the hierarchy of the seals. Well, no, they're not. And the other, like, they're definitely not related. And okay, let's go into what this means. Your root, your root is in your butt, is it? Or the ground, is it? Which one is it? Okay, we're just pretending we're talking to someone else, okay? Okay, American and 1910 Yanks. No, the American 1910 Poms are Crowley's friends. So, the root chakra is in the ground. The vortex for your bum is in the ground, is it? So, that which comes from your bum comes from the ground, does it? Is that because you sit on the ground? Is that because you walk on the ground? Do you think the contents of your ass are from under the ground, are they? Are from the underground? The contents of your ass are from the underground, are they? So they're from the underworld, are they? So they're from the world of the dead, are they? So they're from Hades and hell, are they? Your butt is hell, is it? Anglophone speakers, your butt is hell, is it? You got culture myopia, Anglophone speakers. You don't know that the underworld means different things in different cultures. You don't know it doesn't refer to the butt in different cultures. You've been cursing everyone's backsides through your language, through your culture. Through your myopia. People who knew that and didn't agree with that and had a different worldview. You fucking stole their identities because you thought the Bible told you to do that. That was your New Age, was it? That was your Gematria, was it? That was your Masonry, was it? That was how you read that Bible. You said you were against Christianity, but you wanted to act like Christ, did you? And be the harvester of the souls? Be the good shepherd who takes the beings to the slaughterhouse? But you thought, why did you think that was reality? Why didn't you see that it's cultural myopia for European only? And moreover, rejected by most European. Why did you do that? Why did you see root as your butt? Collective root as butts. As under the ground. Why? Under the ground? What are you going to see? Nagas? The dead? Bugs? All kinds of strange things. Why'd your culture do that? Do that mass and force it on people? Why? Why is your language so abusive? Why is it so myopic? Why does it have so many illusory correlations? Why is the English language so hateful? Maybe it's not about left-wing versus right-wing politics. Maybe the English language is hateful.